Welcome. We're talking right now with City Council candidate Andy Vargas. Welcome to the program, Andy.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Frank.
This is a first-time venture for you.
Yes, it is.
Can you give us a little bit about your history and your background?
Sure. So I am a graduate of Haverhill High School. Public service has been my passion for all my life. After graduating from Haverhill High, I went on to Boston University, graduated from BU. Public service, all my experiences have mostly been in the public sector, so I have a real passion for it. And that includes Chairman Brian Dempsey's office, Senator Chang Diaz, helping small and medium-sized businesses export their products to Spain while I was working out of the U.S. Embassy in Madrid. And most recently, my favorite one was obviously working at the White House, which was an incredible experience. But mainly what I want folks to know is I'm going to work hard for Haverhill and combine my passion for public service with working hard so that we make sure that we move Haverhill forward.
What do you see when you take a look back on some of the things that Haverhill has done very, very well that you'd like to enhance upon? What do you
Absolutely.
think those are?
I think one of the things that definitely helped me, two things actually. One, I had two teachers at Haverhill High that really pushed me to go into the field of public service and political science and international relations, Mark Harvey and Tom Jordan. I think we need to value and respect our teachers. Number two, I think youth development organizations like the Violence Intervention and Prevention Program at Haverhill High did a lot for me. Whether that was going into the middle schools to mentor middle school students and serve almost as a big brother to almost dozens of them while I was at Haverhill High, or connecting me to a statewide coalition of young people across Massachusetts to file legislation to impact youth across the state. So I think we need to enhance a little bit more our youth development programs and making sure that we're having these programs set up for young people to succeed beyond high school as well.
Does that going to require any special funding, or is that something?
Well, yeah, I think
Assuming that you only have a pool of funds,
right.
What do you take away from to get you what you're looking for?
Well, I think what we need to do is we need to be more proactive about looking at federal grants that are available, because not only are there federal grants, but we can also look at foundations that fund this type of stuff. There's a great organization in Lowell called UTEC, and they work primarily with foundations that fund them, and they also get some federal money. But when we're talking about the city budget, there's very little room for to go to programs as such. But I think we need to look at federal programs. We need to look at foundations, and we need to look at just private citizens who are interested in making sure that our young people have a bright future.
Do you think that what you do is following the lead or walking the line that the Commissioner of Public Safety has in acquiring a program of predictive analysis relative to crime fighting that is done completely by computers in predicting where different things happen, and then they look at hot spots and they place the police presence there in order to go ahead and stop that from happening? Yeah. And I know in talking with the chief, he says it's almost like the Matrix in the movie with Keanu Reeves, but the fact is, he said there are other major municipalities, and I'm talking New York City and I guess New York City, Detroit, Baltimore, that were looking to see and looking at Haverhill and seeing how this thing happened to work. Right. If that's the case, would you be looking to follow a same type of parallel with different programs to use as, even if Haverhill were to be used as a test pattern for something of that type?
Sure, I think that's a great example of taking a look at the data and where we can allocate our resources. If you look at Haverhill now, there are two interesting maps. One is home ownership, where folks are living in their own homes, right? If you own your own house and you live there, that's great, that's awesome. But in Haverhill, where homeowners are living, the crime is obviously down. But for example, if you look at the acre, home ownership and living in your own home is very low, and crime is very high. So there are correlations between those two things, and I think that there are different ways to tackle that. It is a public safety issue, but I think this week I'm also rolling out a neighborhood association plan that looks to deal with these types of things, so that we can give these neighborhoods and these groups of individuals who feel like they don't have a stake in local government a body to represent them or to voice their concerns.
It was probably a couple hundred years ago, we're figuring, somebody said the strength of a nation lies in the homes of its people, and that was Abraham Lincoln. And the fact is that if you're a renter, that's okay if you choose. If you'd like to be a non-renter but want to be able to own your home, that was an initiative that was tried, I'm going to say, more than 10 years ago. And they tried to get a lot of people into home ownership, figuring that would happen if they just got them in. Fact is, when they did come up with that formula, it got them in, but got them in over their heads, which is what we had a problem with.
Bubble,
But do you have any idea that, would this be with your neighborhood type of organization be enhance or promote a neighborhood watch, that type of situation? Or does that, what stake does a renter in some of the neighborhoods that you talk about have if all he is a renter? Sure. And I don't mean to diminish that, I'm just
absolutely.
saying.
No, I think the stake that he or she has is that their families live in that neighborhood, right? They need to make sure that they're living in safe neighborhoods where they can work, eat, play, and that's just number one. You know, that's the number one stake that they have. But what I'm concerned with is seeing the low voter turnout and civic engagement that we're seeing in those areas, because what ends up happening is if folks don't turn out, their voices obviously aren't represented. And what I think a neighborhood association can do for these types of groups is not only introduce neighbors to each other, because nobody knows each other anymore. We're all, you know, on our cell phones like this, right? Yeah. So I think that's a you know, basic, you know, pretty good thing to, you know, have neighbors get to know each other. But number two, once these groups come together and say, hey, you know, I'm seeing, you know, this car is whizzing down the street, you know, keep an eye on that car. That car hasn't been here, you know, for weeks, and it seems pretty rare to be here right now. I saw your child down at the corner. I don't know what he was doing, but I pulled him aside. That type of thing. But also
engagement, getting involved.
Engagement, exactly. And the other thing is, you know, because when I'm out there door knocking, yeah, folks basically tell me, I don't vote in local elections, and I don't think that it matters.
Because they think it doesn't matter?
They don't think it matters.
Wow.
And I think, you know, that's why my door knocking campaign started in the Acre neighborhood, because I feel like we need to engage that population.
I'm going to ask you this question. What do you think, when you take a look at, you know, governing is choosing, it's prioritizing, it's making decisions. It's also about reconsidering decisions that have been previously voted down or made. Are there any things that you've seen that the City Council has done, let's say in the past year, 2 years, in your review, that you think you would have gone in a different direction?
Sure. That's a good question. And I think, you know, one of the things, again, I go back to what I'm hearing when I'm door knocking is a lot of people were upset that we passed up on the medical marijuana dispensary. And, you know, while I'm not ready to say, you know, we should legalize marijuana, I think we should have had the medical dispensary here. It would have generated some more revenue for us. We could have poured that back into our public education. So that's one thing, I think. But beyond that, I think what I'm looking to do is engage more folks in the political system here locally, because folks are disengaged. We're seeing a voter turnout rate of 9,000 people. There are about 50,000 voters in Haverhill. 9,000 people turning out to a local election is pretty.
And the reason why, and it's because of it's a sense of apathy, or
yeah,
what do you? I mean, yeah. I'm asking you directly because you're your own survey here. And we're coming up on time, but I need to know, it's just that, do they think that nothing gets done so they don't bother voting in a local election?
So I think it's a couple of things. It's funny that we're talking about this because this is how everything started for me. In high school, I helped file a bill to get civic education back into our high schools because it used to be a graduation requirement. Yeah. People had to take this course, and it got them involved in politics beyond, you know, high school into their careers. Yeah. But I think it's a couple of things. I think it's that, you know, for example, the Acre neighborhood, you know, as a candidate, I was told, you know, don't go there first because there are no voters there. You shouldn't waste your time there. My mentality is a bit different in that let's engage those folks. Those people are important as well. And I'm highlighting the Acre, but obviously I'm working for all of Haverhill here. But yeah, I appreciate you having me here.
But you don't want to write anybody off.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Andy Vargas, a new person that's looking to gain a seat on the Haverhill City Council. A lot of good ideas, a lot of energy. Let's hope it all works to your advantage.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay.